What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rascal Reacts. We ask for my 2 cents, and I give you a nickel. For those who are wondering, no, it's not super cold outside. But you don't feel good. A hoodie just, I don't know, man. It's comfortable. But anyways, John Diesel, border brother out of Oakland, has a YouTube channel. I linked to it in the description and in the title. So he was involved in a situation. Him and his son, his stepson, just recently they were down in Southern California, and some looks were exchanged, I believe, between his stepson and some other folks inside the store. I don't know what prompted it. I don't know how far it got or what words or anything else. But what we do know is those guys pulled something out. John Diesel jumped in, tried to get that away from him, what any man should do in the presence of his kids. And unfortunately, it went off. It went off, and his stepson was hit. Best as I can tell, I think he's going to be okay, right? But prayers to him and his family. I've seen a lot of reactions, and they all kind of center around YouTube. Like, YouTube is dangerous, when YouTube goes too far, this, that, and the other. But best as I can tell, this had nothing to do with YouTube. And so that's not really the angle that I'm going to take. Now, I first learned of this from Nate Dogg 916. I watched his channel. He's a good friend of mine. I talked to him offline. I would suggest you guys check it out if you haven't. And he did a video. And the point that he made was actually a really good one, which wasn't specific to John Diesel either, but just kind of this situation and the fact that he's a YouTuber provides an opportunity sometimes to share a broader lesson, right? That may or may not relate to the specifics of this situation, but it's just an opportunity to kind of share a little bit of wisdom, hopefully, you know? And Nate Dogg did that when he talked about how if you're on YouTube or social media at all, and you steadily talk about how you keep it on you and you stay with that thing and whatnot, what you're doing is telling anybody who doesn't like you now or in the future that if they want to confront you, that they better be ready to play at that level. They better come at that level. There's no talking. There's no fisticuffs. Like, you got that, so if I got an issue with you and I approach you, I better have that too. And I better get off first. And that's just a dangerous message to send. You know, it means that things can escalate in ways that they don't necessarily need to, but because of how you carry yourself on social media, folks may feel the need. So it's a great video. I suggest you guys go watch it. And I'm kind of coming from a similar angle of, like, that didn't really have anything to do with what happened in John Diesel's case, but it's a chance to make a point. The point I want to make is with the son, with the stepson. You know, now, John Diesel comes on here and he's a little extra sometimes, if we're going to keep it real. He's really lived that life. He's really been in the streets, so I don't think he's on here BSing, you know. But we can be a little bit more on camera than how we necessarily move every moment when we're out in the streets. And those that are a little bit older, we know how to conduct ourselves in public, okay? We know what's proper and what's not. We know what's respectful and what's not. We know how to move. We know how to wiggle. We know how to weave. We know how to, whatever you want to call it, right? And that's no exception with John Diesel, I'm sure. You know, I'm sure of it. And so you see one version on camera, and that doesn't mean that an individual is fake or anything else, but it's just one glimpse. But we know better than to be super extra, hella hyphy everywhere that we go, you know, no matter what, right? There's a time and a place. And YouTube is entertainment, you know, and so I don't fault anybody for being entertaining. Young folks don't really get that message so much, right? They don't really get that the same. And so in this case, John Diesel's made no secret of the fact that he kind of comes from that life, is familiar with that life, however you want to put it. And that his wife also, right? Like, she's about that life as well, or has been, or whatever. And so the son, the stepson, is coming up with two parents that have been in the mix, you know? Now, I don't know the family dynamics. I'm not going to blame the stepson for what happened to him. Again, I'm using this as an example for a broader point. Young folks get a different level of attention in the streets than us old folks do, if we're keeping it real. I can walk pretty much anywhere. And it's not because I'm a tough guy or anything else. I know how to conduct myself. I know how to carry myself in different environments, right? But also, I'm just older. Like, I'm not relevant. to these dudes that are late teens to late 20s that are out there posted up on the block that are pushing and moving and doing all that they do out there. I'm not in their group. I'm not in their age range. I'm not relevant to the activities that that they have going on. So unless I go out of my way to present myself as a threat, I get ignored. I know for a fact I've been in situations. I've walked down streets. I've walked through groups of people. I've encountered situations where if I was dressed exactly how I was at the time and everything else was the same, but I was 15 years younger, oh, I'd have got pressed. 100%. They'd have been on me, and it would have been a situation. But just by virtue of my age, it's different. And young folks got to be aware of that, right? And I think sometimes when we come up around big homies, or especially we have parents or we have relatives that have been in the game, we can walk around feeling like, a little chip on our shoulder, like a little extra. And even if we see those folks that are a little bit older kind of get passes, they're able to conduct themselves and carry themselves in a way, and folks don't really mind. Don't expect that same privilege, basically, to be extended to you. It doesn't. Because you fall in that predatory age group. You fall in that age group where folks are going to be watching you, where you could be a threat, you could be an obstacle, you could be a victim, right? So, but something to be mindful of, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And if you're a parent or an uncle or aunt or whatever, teach your youngsters, man, teach your kids. And I'm not saying that this didn't happen in this case. Again, I'm using it as a springboard for a bigger point. But teach your young folks how to move, how to carry themselves, how to read a room. That, hey, just because you come from this pedigree, just because you come from this bloodline, just because you come from this neighborhood, just because, we've been with all this and we can get away with acting like this, that does not mean that the same is necessarily true for you. And also know that as older folks, we've been pressed and we've done some pressing. Like, we've earned our way to be this age. But it's not always by aggressiveness. It's not always by beating our chest. It's also by knowing when to be humble. Not a coward, but humble. And again, respect the space that you're in. And be mindful of, like, what are you trying to accomplish here? But we're just walking in the store to grab something. That's all. We way out of our backyard. Them dudes over there looking, it's whatever. Learn how to shrug that off, right? And I've known some young folks that feel less inclined to shrug it off because they got a big homie with them, right? It's because their dad is with them and they know their dad's with the business. So mine's shrugging off nothing. But that ain't not the time to prove something. If you ain't got nothing to prove to the big homie or your uncle or your dad or your mom, you can get yourself in a wreck, right? And it could look bad for everybody. So just some lessons here in how we deal with our youngsters, the lessons we give to them and the examples and maybe some of the guidance. And if this happens to reach the ears of a young person, take some P's and Q's, man. Mind your P's and Q's, There's a time and a place for everything. The Dollar General is not the time and a place to prove your manhood and let your nuts hang. Just buy what you got to buy and get out of there. Again, accepting somebody's sideways glance and just keeping it pushing, in my book, and you guys jump in the comments, let me know if you think I'm wrong, but if I'm just walking in the store, man, I'm 46 years old, and I see some kids over there and they give me a little sideways look, okay, I'll see your look, but I'm here to buy something, man, and go out. I don't feel like that makes me a coward. I don't feel like that makes me some kind of weenie. I don't feel like I lose some of my manhood because I know there's some people over there giving me a dirty look. I don't feel like I need to press that. Now, there's a part of me, I'm sure, in that situation that would feel otherwise. But in my right mind, in my mature mind, man, ain't nothing. Now you step to me, you present a threat to me, that's a different story. But a goofy look from across the store, that's not a threat to me. That doesn't hurt me. I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. But I also know what I'm here to do. And that's grab my little items, hit the cash register, and keep it pushing. Go on with my day. My day does not involve you, right? And we got to help share that message, you know, which I think is a healthy one. You know, again, there's a time and a place. And so I don't know the details of this case, but kind of some takeaway lessons. Just don't feel a little extra because you got a hitter with you. You know, they don't feel like, oh, well, I gotta not take anything from anybody because I don't want to look weak in front of this person. If that's a real old school cat, a real OG, so to speak, a real family member, a real adult, they're not gonna want you to get them in a wreck. You know, you're not proving anything besides that you're reckless. And those of us that are a little bit older, for the most part, we don't want no reckless stuff. We ain't looking to go there because we know how it can escalate. And so it ain't worth it. You're not proving anything except your own immaturity when you do that. You know, and it's not the message I think you're trying to send. And again, if you got kids, you got youngsters that you know are raising up and they know that you've been about that, teach them those lessons, that there is a time and a place. Hey, part of the way that you get to live this long is by picking your battles. You know, and again, I don't know the specifics of what happened in this case. So I'm not going there. I'm not saying who's at fault or who's not or anything. I don't know. But when I heard about it, I was like, man. And that's the stuff that kind of crossed my mind. So take it for what it is, man. There you go. You asked for my 2 cents. I'll give you a nickel. Tap in a bunch of content and I'll be dropping some more. Take care.